Scott, I'll start with you. I did just sort of outline the idea of what partners do within Salesforce at a very, very high level. I would love a bit of a more grounded and inside baseball approach. Like, how can you explain to everybody here on the call your point of view around how partners help new businesses coming onto Salesforce maximize the platform for them?
That's a great question. So thank you for that. I'm going to give you some background first. So Simpligence as a partner, we may not operate the same as every other partner. So I do want to kind of explain that a little bit. We have a number of enterprise customers. So we're a 100+ company. We have a lot of people across North America helping out, actually globally helping out customers, whether they're enterprise or small business. So I want to take that step. This is important. Very dedicated focus on the SMB space. Enterprise can move a little slow at times, but the SMB space, the small, medium-sized businesses in Canada, the amount of creativity, the amount of innovation right now, and the ability to make decisions quickly, pivot and adapt, such an exciting space that we have absolutely focused on small, medium, mid-market sized businesses, depending on where they are. We tend to be working with customers across every vertical. It doesn't really matter which vertical you're in, whether you're in financial services or manufacturing or education for that matter. The challenges have always been the same over the course of like the last 5 to 10 years. So something's changed in, I guess, the last year or two, but over the last 5 to 10 years, it's typical. We have a number of manual processes, duplicated data entry. Like we're working with Excel spreadsheets. We don't even know which one we're supposed to be working with. That's kind of problem number one. Second challenge is we have an overall lack of visibility. We can't get the reports that we need. So there's no real actionable intelligence. Or we have to pay someone who custom built our solution thousands of dollars to produce reports that we're going to get. Second challenge. And then the third is the things that we're using are just not tailored to the way we do business. It's like they've turned us into a round peg and we're trying to like be stuck into a square. It's just wrong. It's not tailored to the way we want. How do we start to work things that are our way? And that's a problem of adoption. So those are the 3 challenges that we've seen for like a decade. It's the same thing. Manual processes, lack of visibility, and poor adoption. Recently, we're seeing the bigger problem is as you grow as an organization, you'll have 6 business applications, then you'll have 7, then you'll have 8, and every department or division will buy their own application. Build this Frankenmonster tech sprawl. And the questions that we're getting asked today, it's still the same challenges. The questions we're getting asked are, can you help us reduce our overall technology? Are there tools, are there things you can do inside Salesforce, or maybe even through the App Exchange, which is a great tool right now. For those that don't know, the App Exchange is kind of like the store for Apple. You get apps that work specifically. So these are native apps. We have customers and potential customers that want to extend the platform. They still want to work within Salesforce. They don't want to have 17 different apps. So whether it's bringing on a service division or a marketing division into sales, or bringing in payments. Payments is a huge trend right now. Just having the ability to send a link and have someone pay directly for the sales opportunity or a service opportunity. Those are the big trends right now. It's how do we reduce the amount of applications that we have into one sort of core platform, a single source. That's a really long way of saying that we get called on to help bridge the gap, eliminate other applications, and rapid time to value. Sometimes a partner will say, we want to boil the ocean and you're going to be in an implementation for 16 months and eventually you'll be able to use this tool. We're not that. What's phase 1? We get you up and running, get to the point where you're using the platform, and then we hand you the keys to the car. You're in charge. You own the data. You own the platform. Just get you up and running fast. Decide you want to grow with more things later because you've proven out the platform. We'll help with that. Unless you end up getting premier success, you start to learn the platform, you become a trailblazer, start to do things on your own, which is also how the two work in partnership. It's a big answer, big answer. I think the big thing that we care about most is adoption, time to value. You don't necessarily have capacity, you don't have capability yet, but you will. Once you're up and running, Salesforce will support your learning and we'll get you there as well.
I think that's a great answer, and I think that that's a big holdup that I've seen in conversations with small businesses is how can we make this digestible? How can we actually do this? The outcomes seem great, but there's work to get there. So how do we actually do that? I think that outlines that really well. Erin, would love to ask you not the same question. You're not a partner, so you have a different perspective on things.
Sure.
When it comes to the difference in the conversations that are had with smaller businesses, growing businesses versus established businesses, from your perspective, you have a more leadership level communication with these companies. What are you talking about with those chief whatever officers in those evaluations? What's the number one thing that comes up in every conversation?
Yeah, good question. Innovation is at the forefront. So most organizations at an executive level, they're looking at their AI strategy. That's a very broad term. It's going to mean something different to every single organization, but that's what's keeping CEOs up at night. How do I tap into AI? How is that going to enable and activate my organization? That's like a broad running theme. When I meet with customers, whether it's on site or virtually, I always approach the conversation through 3 pillars. We're really here to look at the people within your organization, the process, and the technology. I like things in 3s. Most companies also, when they look at their go-to-market strategy, they're also either bucketing it and or breaking it down into those 3 pillars. So Salesforce is that technology company, but we're a people-first organization. We're here to help lean into and leverage the skills that already exist in the small businesses, tapping into who's the champion in the organization that's leading their technology transformation. How do you upskill that individual? So we address the people part, the process. We're either there to either transform it, activate it, maybe provide an alternative to the current process, make it better. In some instances, they've already nailed it. So we're just perhaps elevating it a little bit, as well as the technology. So back to what Scott had mentioned about tech consolidation. In 2018, a lot of organizations had equity. We had money, they had capital to invest in technology. So going again, back to Scott's comment about different departments purchasing a service application, a sales application, a marketing application. Nobody across the different BUs were communicating and talking. Then all of a sudden, the economy goes through a downturn. Inflation rises, interest rates are through the roof. Nobody has money, discretionary funds at their disposal. So now it's a conversation about how do I do more with less? That's every single conversation. David, as an account executive, experiences. There's a couple of account executives online. That is always the entry point. How can you help us, customer and or prospect, do more with less? Hopefully that gave you some insight to what we experience on a sort of day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. I think that's great. And I think that the more with less mantra has been, everybody can slap that on the side of their headquarters. For
the theme of the year.
Yeah. So it's that's helpful. And when it comes to the do more with less and bringing up the AI conversation and the idea of everybody, even if they're not quite ready, needing an AI strategy because it is going to change everything. Some of the tools that have come out recently, they're for those online that haven't seen our, advertising and our announcements everywhere. Agentforce is our generative AI platform that just came out for general release last month, and more features are coming out every month. So there's a ton of really, really amazing stuff from sales, service, marketing. Every different cloud is going to have their own various autonomous agents that can be built to individual use cases. Pivoting back to you, Scott, around this particular conversation, what kind of conversations have you begun having with customers in the smaller business space who are not necessarily at the forefront of the AI revolution, but are now waiting for us to kind of steer them and guide them into their AI strategy? What kind of conversations are you having with those customers?
I would say extremely disruptive ones. We can have conversations about technology, like that's what we do. Obviously, technology is in there. Change management is a big piece of conversation. And with change management and AI comes a lot of controversy potentially. Are we going to lose jobs? Am I trying to reduce it? In some cases, some businesses are actually trying to reduce their full-time equivalent and they're looking for ways to do it. And there may be opportunities where you've got 10 to 20,000 work orders a year or service requests a year that you're dealing with. Could be 100 a day, whatever the amount of volume, with simple, frequently asked questions like, where's my order? Can I pick up my order? What's the status? Can I change my order? These are like simple things that we can use AI for. AI can, I won't get into how the future work exactly, but those are some of the ideas that AI is looking at. Another thing that we're looking at is, this is probably the most fun, is the idea of co-piloting. It's pretty interesting. With Agentforce coming up in Toronto, the amount of use cases that are available, the interest is we don't necessarily know what we can do with it. What have other customers done with it? The question we usually get asked at the beginning of an implementation is, how can we make sure that we're tapping into the right fields when we're implementing? Let's set this up so that when we want to report effectively and have artificial intelligence then looking at our data, how do we set this up so that it's AI ready? That's kind of the biggest thing that we're looking at. You don't want 1,700 fields to track absolutely everything. You're never going to adopt it. But what are the fields that are necessary to create a digital thread that AI can learn from and repeatedly learn from to make decisions or recommendations we can act on to augment the people that are doing it in it?
That's great. And I think that the idea of, we don't know what we don't know when it comes to AI because everybody has their own interpretation of what they can do and use cases for it, and things like these, broader world tour events that we will be hosting in Toronto on December 12th. Everybody, everybody on this call should have received an invite. But those are the kinds of events where you'll be inspired by other people who are already using the platform. Just because it went generally available last month doesn't mean it hasn't been being used up to now. So there's all kinds of fine tuning that's been happening and use case narrowing that is going to be very, like Scott said, disruptive for the industry. So I think that's really exciting. I do want to keep things even. So
Sure.
Aaron, I'll come back to you. And then after, I'm only one brain. If you guys have a question or two for each other, we can have a broader conversation as well. Because you'll have different views on these things. Aaron, would love to ask you, sort of pivoting away from just the technology side and the business side, just from an operational standpoint, when you're seeing small business customers evaluate things, a lot of times we are held up, things go slower than we think they should, or things are not moving in the same direction as we initially were told. All of these things can throw a wrench in plans. When it comes to starting off an evaluation and kicking off an evaluation for people who are looking to bring a new platform on, what would your suggestion for a successful path towards that be? Not necessarily something that needs to be followed steps 1 through 5, but a broader framework to make sure that everyone's staying aligned and the customer's interests are being met.
Yeah, good question. I would say start small. So again, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And so hopefully my answer will resonate with some of the folks that are on the call. A smaller organization, let me define that. You're 50 employees. There is so much technology that Salesforce can offer. Pick one. Pick one use case, one problem that you are challenged with, your biggest problem, let us solve it. So that's advice. I wouldn't come to the table with, I have these 10 things that are keeping me up tonight or up at night. I want you to solve all of them. Of course we can solve them. We're Salesforce. Pick one, start, and then expand. So for example, if sales, your go-to-market strategy isn't where it needs to be, your revenue, your cost of acquisition is through the roof, your lifetime value isn't where it needs to be, start there. And then partner with a company like Simpligence who can take on that project, go through the implementation, and then once you have user adoption, once you have that change management piece nailed, move on to the next piece. That's totally ass backwards to what I should be saying because I'm a sales leader. Of course, I want to, eat the whole elephant in one, sitting. That's not doable, especially in SMB, right?
Yep.
So for, I think, Vlad and perhaps Sarah and Ashley, not sure which technology, if anything, you're using today, but we can solve your problems. And I don't mean that through ignorance, it's Salesforce. And so our brand, our reputation, what we're accomplishing and have accomplished for 25 years, it kind of speaks for itself. And so my recommendation, land and expand. That would be the best way.
Land, expand, crawl, walk, run, however you want to frame it.
Exactly. Pick your own analogy, whatever satisfies you.
Yeah.
You can even take a step back. We've got, so crawl, walk, run, fly is the typical approach. We've seen companies that they're like born cry. So
They cry first?
yeah, they're not even using Excel spreadsheets. They're just carrying whiteboard from building to building. So start, quick wins, get up and running, find adoption. I think that's the piece that's probably the most part in the evaluation, to your point, starting small. Who is going to champion the implementation? Not who champions the buy. There's always someone that wants something better, faster, or something that relieves their pain. They want to spend more time having lunch with their family, want to walk their dog, and they can't do it because of all the spreadsheets they're working with. Like, we get it, there's pain, but who's gonna help navigate change? You're in a situation, we have a couple customers in the room as well, where you're navigating change specifically with some app exchange type of tools. So bringing other tools inside Salesforce. If they're like, maybe you can help us understand, if there's not someone helping navigate that change that takes control of how are we going to adopt this? Who's going to be the cheerleader to say, this is working, let's extend this to more teams? Are we speaking your language?
Yes, you're speaking a little too well, actually. I think on our part, working within the Career Center of the Ted Rogers, we basically became our own champion and implementation team for Salesforce. And we've had a lot of other units across the faculty leverage the platform, but maybe not to the same extent as us. So I think one of the steps for change management and getting others to really see the value is we've developed our own business user group meeting. And this is where we have different members from each of the units come in once a month, and we have that opportunity to really showcase to them how we're leveraging the platform. And we've built the reports for them as well in terms of getting them to see how they can quickly adopt it on their side. So I think it's having those relatively frequent touch points where you actually connect and discuss and hear from them what their pain points are and get that opportunity to really show to them how the tool can really support them has really been key for us. That was, I think, a piece that was a bit absent over the first few years of us developing it. It was very much our Career Center was the ones championing and building it in-house. So we were the only real users of it, and we love it. But we struggle to get others to really see the value because they didn't have that same opportunity to learn and grow with the tool the way that we did.
Thank you for that. It sounds like you're evolving with the platform and with those that are ready to do it.
Yeah.
Reports is such a great example. Working with a homegrown system, you call your vendor, you've got a report that's going to come to you in about 2 weeks, comes custom, costs you a little bit of money, and it's still not quite perfect. I got to get another one. What's reporting like in Salesforce?
We love reporting. We love reporting. We love dashboards. We were speaking about this earlier before the event started. It has really allowed us to work cross-functionally with so many of our units within the Ted Rogers School of Management, the business faculty at Toronto Metropolitan University. We have been able to convince those that have maybe been a little bit scared or shy of using data to show them the value and the impact of their work immediately, which has been tenfold. We've also been able to plan ahead and look year over year within a day to help use that data to drive insights and really long-term strategic decisions within the business faculty. In addition to what Akifa was mentioning, in those business user groups, we've been able to showcase some of the dashboards that our team has built to look at our operational efficiencies, or even just how much our customers, in our case, our students and our alumni, are engaging in better ways to tailor our services and our programs to support them. So by our business group really showcasing that, we've been able to obviously use the technology to better partner with other stakeholders within our school, but also just help them kind of solve problems within their silos themselves and really disintegrate those silos altogether. So we've really transformed and used the technology, including reports and dashboards, to show the value and partner with those business units more cross-functionally.
So for fun, if we ripped Salesforce out, you no longer had it anymore.
Oh no,
What would life be like?
cry.
Don't think I'd make it the next day.
Yeah, stay in bed forever.
Yeah.
No, it is our go-to.
Yeah.
We can't live without it. It is the heart of our community, and it's how obviously we build personal relationships, but it's having the data and the intel across our teams to know how we can better support them, whether they're chatting with us virtually or in person.
Running
Yeah.
our events, everything is integrated. So we would be completely lost if we didn't have the tool.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. I think that really speaks to the idea of the partnership that I was mentioning before, where we're not just selling you a tool and then saying, see you later, you're on your own. Like, we really do see the value in, being with you every step of the way as you grow as a company. And whether that's through the relationships or the technology or some combination of both, that's part of the deal with Salesforce. So that's hearing, getting an unexpected sort of customer story here after this morning is really great. So thank you guys for sharing that. Sure.
If we may add, our business school is very entrepreneurial, and we have many students that actually go and start their own businesses post-graduation or even during their studies. And we've heard from them that it inspires them to see us so forward-thinking with technologies like Salesforce and our partners through the App Exchange, that many of them are extremely interested in learning Salesforce. And as such, we've partnered with Salesforce to really expose them to the technologies and really what it can do, in hopes of them taking it forward with them when they launch their own businesses moving forward and becoming one of those SMBs, whether it's here in Ontario, Canada, or global, wherever their footprint may take them.
So we're
I think one of the expectations gaps that can come is if you're a customer or a potential customer and you're looking to evaluate any software, whether it's one you want to implement yourself or whether it's one that you think you don't have the capacity, you don't have the capability, you want it up and running fast, you want to crawl, walk, run. There can be a misconception that there are two sides of a fence to the evaluation, where it's you're going to work with the Salesforce team, the solution engineering, the innovation team, business value services, all of that. And then it's now we're going to introduce you to the partner. And the partner is going to end up, that isn't really the way we see Salesforce. That's not how we see the relationship. So Simpligence specifically, we're in on the first call or the second call. We're helping tailor some of like the demonstration type software to support the solution engineers. So we're all aligned with the expectations of what an implementation can look like from a change management perspective, from a cost perspective, from a timeline perspective, and who is actually going to be involved. So we get to meet the team in advance of anyone making a decision, which I think is important. There's got to be some synergies there. So I think the misconception is that there's software and then there's the implementation team. I think you want to clarify that we're all working together to make sure that you're going to be successful, because no one's going to go away. We're all together. I wanted to point out that one thing, is that there's tight alignment.
Good point.
Absolutely.
Mhm. I concur. So not on the other fence, like, looking over,
But they bought it, your turn, you're up.
Okay.
yeah, passing the hot potato.
Yeah.
I am curious, because we have some folks on the line. Vlad and Ashley, what brought you to this conversation today?
Yeah, just the curiosity, I guess. Just wanted to see what's on the other side.
Okay,
Yeah, just for future and like we did just switch up platforms recently, so it's not going to be anytime soon, but we just wanted to know what else is available basically and just get some ideas on yeah, what Salesforce has to offer instead of just doing research online, I guess.
okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Also, thank you for coming and having the curiosity to see what else is out there. So appreciate that. Ashley, what
Sure,
about
thank you.
yourself? Is there something top of mind for you that maybe we haven't touched upon, you'd like to hear more about?
No, I'm going to kind of go off what Vlad said there as well. We're kind of just exploring our options to see if there is something we can integrate with what we currently have in our structure. So actually one of my coworkers had forwarded this meeting invite to me, and I thought I would just kind of sit in and kind of see what if this is something that would be a good fit for us, or if there's something we can kind of look into more. So
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for David, we're moving on to perhaps a
Yep,
demo.
Exactly. So we'll use the last 10, 15 minutes here to actually, look at the platform and some of the changes that I was mentioning earlier to make it more small business and growing business friendly. So with that, I'll say, Aaron, Scott, thank you for contributing and being part of the conversation. I think it's been super valuable and we really appreciate it. So again,